All right, hello, sixth graders. I know that some of us had a little bit of trouble with X13, and this should be a good review video for you, but also just a little help on exactly what's going on here. So um, I want to show you one way to do this. Believe me, there's a few different ways that you can actually get some of these problems done, but this is probably going to be the most beneficial way for you for understanding exactly what we need to do for tomorrow when we take our test. So I'm going to start off. I actually have my Excel open and I'm doing the very first problem. And so I know that first problem says the slope of -9 is equal to the slope. Okay. And one thing that I know for a fact that when we get slope, if we actually create our table here with input and output values, having X here and Y here, one thing that the slope definitely will tell us is that we are taking this -9 and multiplying it by X. And that when I use consecutive terms here, as long as these numbers are in consecutive order for X, that I will be repeatedly adding -9. So all the way through. And that's kind of helpful for me, especially for this first one. They give me the ordered pair of -9 for X and 2 for Y. And so I can put those inputs and outputs in. I can put in -9 here and I get out +2. And then they want me to know what is the value of Y when X is -8. So, man, this one really works out nicely for me. For a couple of reasons. One, -9, the very next number in consecutive order would be -8. So I can take this 2, and if I actually add a -9 to that, I should find my value. I should find my value by doing that. So if I wanted to, I could just quickly find that and say 2 plus a -9, and I should get out a -7. Now, the other way that we can do this, if they're not consecutive orders, I got lucky on the first one because it's -9 and then -8. I can actually, because I know that I'm graphing a straight line, okay? A straight line means that we have a constant rate, that we are growing or we're doing something at a constant rate. That means that my rule on my table here, that's this part right in here, this rule has to stay the same. It has to be constant. Okay, so when I plug in my value of -9 here, I get -9 times a -9, which is actually a +81. What do I have to do to get to 2? Well, I know that 81, a -81 or 81 getting down to 2, I have to subtract actually by 79. Okay, so I now know that my rule, which has to be the same for every single one, we know that we're taking a -9, we're multiplying it by X, we have to subtract 79. Okay, so then I can go in and do the exact same thing for the very next problem. And I can go in and say, all right, -9, which is constant, times our new variable of -8, I get a grand total of 72. And when I take 72 and subtract 79, I do get exactly -7. So I would put in -7, which I'm doing right now on my Excel, and boom, I got it right. Okay, so I'm just going to show you one more, and then I'll let you try this on your own. So I'm just going to move to the next page. Here we are. So this one says I have points of O and an unknown Y. Okay, and then I also have an ordered pair of -1 and +1. And they tell me that the slope is 4. So that means our rise over run, we would rise 4, run 1. Now, if I actually had a, if I actually graphed these ordered pairs, I could graph -1, 1, and I could basically rise up 4 and run 1, and I would be right at that point that I need to be for um, this 0, or to find this y value right here. Instead, I don't expect you to do that, but you could do that. That would be a way that we could figure this out. Instead, I'm going to go back and show you the table again. And I'm going to put in my input of x and my output of y. And in this case, I know that my x value is equal to -1. My y value right here is equal to 1. I know that my slope is 4 right there. And so that tells me that I am going to do 4 times x. 4 times x. And then I don't know what the rest of it is. What I actually have to do is plug in this value. So if I plug in my value for x, I have 4 times a -1. And now what I need to do is figure out, how do I get to 1? Well, 4 times a -1 is a -4. So for me to get to +1, I'd have to add 5. And again, this rule has to be constant because we're graphing a straight line. It's a constant rate of change. So my rule has to be 4 times our x value plus 5. Now, another thing that we know, and once again, this value is 0, but one thing that we know for sure is that when we're repeatedly adding by or multiplying by 4, that our output values will just be one more group of 4. So that would be 1 plus 4. I bet you anything I get 5. My ordered pair here would have to be 5. So I can plug this value in again and say 4 times 0 is 0. I need to get to 5, so I'd have to add 5, and I know for a fact my rule works. I know that my ordered pair, when x is 0, y has to be 5. So I'd plug in that 5, and I'm good to go. So hopefully that helps you out for tonight. Hopefully you can, we understand. Key thing is we need to understand that when we know what the slope is, that is telling us exactly what we're multiplying by x, 4 times x. Slope is 4. That means we're going to take 4 and multiply it by that x. And then you'll usually have to find this piece to plug in the other number. So good luck with your IXL tonight. It will be a nice little review. Hopefully you create a lot of tables. Some of you might find an easier way to do this, and there's certainly other ways. There's definitely quicker ways to do it, but this way will definitely help you out for your test for tomorrow. All right, have a nice evening.